Well,
Okay, we're going to be talking about chapter 3 of the whole Paramount book. I'm going to be starting off with section 3.1, and David here is going to be doing 3.2 on terrorism. I'm going to be talking about moral responsibilities of engineers. First aspect I want to talk about is a basic ethical rule. The engineer should hold paramount to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Um, when we're talking about should and shall in engineering writings, we talk um, should when something says should, it's up to the discretion of the contractor. But when it says shall, there's no ambiguity of whether you have to do it. Say like the engineer shall put together plans for this bridge. He has to do it. Should he can do it, but he may also not do it. Um, Paramount, due to money, Paramount basically means they have to be upheld and have to be stood for. But the problem with that is due to money constrictions. Sometimes an engineer isn't able to hold all of those things paramount. They have to weigh the cost of health, safety, and welfare of the public. When you're the public, you're hoping that that engineer is probably putting health, safety, and welfare above cost, but that may not always be the case. Okay. But paramount is also an unambiguous word. Doesn't mean that means it's not a should word. It's a shall. So, but the thing about this is when we talk about they have to make a decision about money and cost and efficiency. Usually, most of the time, the engineers become the decision makers. Most people would like to think that other people actually have that job, but it really boils down to the engineer deciding what's best in terms of money and also for the safety, welfare of the public and health. Um, Something also a engineer must have is a commitment to honesty, truthfulness, and public service when in their moral responsibilities. Um, they also have to keep a contract. It's the same as a theory of professions. It's a contract theory of ethics. The only reason for having ethics is an agreement of how we ought to treat each other, according to some scientists. It's an attempt to understand and to prescribe a contract among us that would dictate behavior beneficial to all. If, like, for instance, if you don't lie to me, I won't lie to you, and we'll both be better off. Um, it's the same thing between a professional and the public, although it's not reciprocal directly. There's an understanding that when adhered to, it will benefit all. Part of the contract with professional engineers that they agree to hold paramount the health, safety, and welfare of the public, and that's how kind of the end statement that I just said relates to the very first and the same statement. All of it kind of goes together. And now I'm gonna go give it to David to talk about terrorism.
yeah. So HP 3.2 is mainly talking about engineering and terrorism. We're really discussing how the first engineer was engineered based on the military. He was designed. His main job was to produce weapons and other defense techniques. All engineers actually were engineers for the military, build weapons and design protection for their castles and for other kingdoms and whatnot. The book alludes to Leonardo da Vinci and hundreds of weapons and other war sketchbooks and buildings of medieval times and like amazing complexes that were designed just for to protect against incoming invaders and whatnot. But this engineering and terrorism though really began in at least in America's eyes during after 9/11 because of the attacks on 9/11. Engineers had to now put defending well, creating their products to also be to avoid to protect the people if a terrorism attack was to occur. And but this is pretty much impossible. Like the book alludes to the bridges such as the Brooklyn Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge and whatnot. that you can't really just protect everything from everything. Like everything that you've ever built is not, you can't protect it from every natural disaster that would occur. So, and you also cannot protect it from every act of terrorism that would occur. But the main possible deterrent or scheme to combat terrorism would be trying to speak to that, trying to speak to those who are the terrorists or something, and understand where they're coming from, and trying to resolve the issues that you guys have between each other. Talks about Islam and how the Islamic, not the Islamic faith, but like the radicals and how the radicals and how they differ from America's way of life, and how they're terrorists against us because of our way of life. But the best way to resolve that would be speaking out and understanding what each other's, where each other's coming from. Right? That too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, by changing the attitudes of the terrorists would be the best defense or best system against terrorism.
Actually, I can't remember.
Yeah, Mark.
This is Kyle.
Yes, this is Kyle. How are you doing? Well, today we are going to talk about
3.3
engineering and intelligent robots. Well,
robots.
Yes, engineers as intelligent robots. So, what are they? It sounds like we have something interesting with electronics. But no, we actually have something like a drone. Something that's basically pre-programmed to do something, a particular job, over and over again without analyzing it like a normal engineer would. One example is the what was it? The nuclear facility in Russia, where the particular engineers there were
Chernobyl.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, they were going through tests, and as engineers, they were supposed to analyze the results of each of the tests. But they did not, and through each of their failed tests that they did not analyze,
Failures.
epic, they ended up in the results of a complete meltdown. Yeah, and
It's pretty bad there.
still pretty bad there. There's still nuclear radiation there.
I know. Well, let's get going.
I knew people were really close to that.
This would be your section, sir.
Yes.
Focus.
Focusing. And basically, as it is our responsibility as engineers not to be robots, we should analyze everything that pertains to our situation. We should go through the we should go through the necessary guidelines. Steps. Guidelines. All right. And I'm now going to turn it over to Kai Riddell with What is Integrity?
So what?
Integrity, not love, but integrity.
Okay, well, we're talking about integrity, not love.
We love integrity.
We do love integrity.
What is love or integrity?
Stop.
Don't hurt me no more.
You leave that in there. Anyway, integrity in the book kind of like, it was kind of saying what isn't integrity. Something that isn't integrity is saying just you have a set of values but not really following them in practice. You, like, for instance, if you're a Christian, you can be like, oh yeah, I believe in the Ten Commandments, but you could be a thief or a klepto by nature, or you could be, I don't know, hiring prostitutes at night. I mean, it talks about like, it talks about that with politicians and stuff. Basically, like how certain types of people don't have integrity. It gives examples like, for instance, professors who favor a certain student and give them better grades. Because maybe, perhaps, this is in parentheses, theoretical, they're having relationships with that student.
Say what?
And anyway, or lying politicians,
When has that ever happened?
or athletes who take drugs. Anyway, but the thing about it is it's more of a wholeness to those values. It means being true to your values in your
True to
practice.
good values.
True to good values, yes. In your practice. In other words, not just speaking them a name and pretending like they're a big part of your life, but actually following them in everything you do. Have an unswerving allegiance to this set of values. Basically, just sticking to it. That's kind of what it takes for integrity. I don't think everybody can hold up to it all the time because every once in a while, like for instance, Christians are sinners. All Christians.
All Christians.
Everyone's a sinner. And every once in a while people slip up. But I think integrity is to the best of your ability sticking to that core set of values.